Hey, what's up, guys? David Glenn of davidglennrecording.com and theproaudiofiles.com. Today I'm going to be talking to you about sidechain compression with a kick and the bass. Now, I know this has been covered quite a bit. You can run a Google search. You can find all kinds of stuff on this. I've specifically got a pop hip-hop track here. The EDM thing has been beat to death. I think that's there's all kinds of tools out there. You actually don't even need the sidechain into a compressor anymore if you don't want to. They've got what's the plugin from Sonic Academy, Nicky Romero, Kick, and then there's, I believe the other one's called Kickstart. It's incredible. You can pick the pumping rate, and if you've got a 4 on the floor, 128, whatever, all kinds of solutions for that. What I want to talk to you about is tons of emails have been coming in about how do I sidechain my kick and my bass with my parallel processing in the mix and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you that. And this song is called El Nombre de Jesus. It's from Redimidos featuring Christine DeClario. Very talented artist. And we'll hit play, and then we'll dive right into what we got going on. If I can hit the play button correctly.
Es merecedor de la mejor alabanza. Él es mi esperanza. Mi corazón en toda la canción.
All right, cool. So, solid track. Let's scroll up and let's take a look at what the kick and the bass are doing. All right, so here we have, get rid of that for a second. We've got my kick that I've pulled in and generated with a virtual instrument. You guys may have seen this in my other stuff. Kick from Sonic Academy and Nicky Romero. And that kick will solo, yep, there's the kick. That is, I'm not going to go over the processing for that, but that's going out a bus that I've labeled, I've renamed it Kick SC for Kick Sidechain. That's going to go to, at the end of my bass chain, you'll see here I've got bass level with RBass, some EQ, and then a multiband. The FabFilter Pro-MB, a beautiful plugin. Using this on all kinds of stuff, but sticking to the topic, I've got that coming in, that bus, Kick SC is coming in the external chain of the FabFilter Pro-MB. And then within the bands, you have the option to select whether you want that to be triggered by an internal or an external chain. So in this case, I want the external. I want the kick to trigger the compression. So in the very simplest form, you've got your bass guitar, it's rocking along, and if you want the kick to dominate, by sending the kick into the compression, you can smack down the level of whatever frequency range that you set, and you can set how much you want it to drop. So if I'm explaining that well enough, the kick is going to hit, and instantly this sidechain compression right here is going to drop those frequencies between the ranges of 20 and 132 hertz. They're all going to just smack down based on the threshold and the range that I set. I've got a -8 range here. Which is actually a little bit steep for what I'm used to using, but it sounded good. I guess I used my ears in this case. But that's the beauty of it. So you can still have subs rock in the car, fill in the room, whatever it is that whatever your listening environment is. But when that kick hits, it's going to dominate in that frequency range. You can see in this, I've also got a mid-range sidechain set up. I didn't use this in the song, but before I did the tutorial, I was like, I hear a lot of the attack of the kick competing with the fuzziness and the distortion that I put on the bass amp tone. So I was just messing around trying to see, hey, what would it sound like if I sidechained all the mid and the upper of the bass, so that section, that frequency range dipped as well, and I actually kind of liked it. So maybe something to consider in future works is to look at how the kick mids and highs are reacting to the bass mids and highs. So let's listen to it. Enough of me talking, and let's see it in action. Let me actually come back down here. I use Ozone at the end of my 2-bus chain, and I've got the IRC set to 3, which is has an incredible amount of latency. So let's get a good visual representation. Let's scroll back up. Here we go from, say, right when the bass swells in. Let's pull open Pro-MB, and let's focus in on just this sub-region right here, on what it's doing and how that's working. Nice. So now I'm going to bypass it, and I want you to listen to how it feels stale. When I bypass it, I feel like everything's it's almost just like a mess. It's just kind of happening. Everything's just going. The kick is doing its thing, and then there's no real like connection between the kick and the bass. So let's bypass it, and then while it's playing, I'll re-engage it, and we'll hear the difference. Back in. Yeah, so I'm not used to saying, I don't like saying the word glue too much, but if you've heard that, you kind of know what's going on there. So you can hear them kind of gel together. I guess a couple of things to be thinking about whenever you're using sidechain compression is your attack time, your release time. I like to let them be fast. I like it to be really quick. I like the attack to hit immediately so that it gets it out of the way. And then I like the release to be quick so that as soon as that sub, let me first say this. I like, most of the time you'll find that my kicks are very, very short in the decay, sustain, release department. They're going to be really tight. They're going to be really punchy. And they're going to get in, get out. They're going to get out of the way so that the bass can resonate and fill that sub-frequency space. But I love to have a kick that hits you in the gut, hits you in the rear whenever you're driving down the road, but it just kind of happens, and then the bass takes over the sustain part. So if that's making sense, hopefully I'm explaining that well. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up at david@davidglennrecording.com, and I'll be sure to elaborate or find a better way to explain it. But that's kind of how I'm working with kick and bass on rock, pop, hip-hop. I would do this in dance, but let me show you real quick. There's another plugin, but it's a VST, and I got to pull it in through the Blue Cat's patchwork here. And here we go. Let's pull open. Actually, I just want to see. Here's Kickstart. This guy right here. So this plugin right here, if you guys aren't familiar with it, go check this out. I've shown you Kick. This is Kickstart, and it's just by Nicky Romero. It's actually not by Sonic Academy on this one. And it's beautiful, man. So you can actually pull back your mix percentage from 0 to 100. You can pick the different type of sidechain effect that you want, and per instrument you can give it its own character to how it relates to a 4 on the floor kick. So, and then you can set it to be obviously eighth, half, whole note sidechain. So feel free to check that out. That's a Nicky Romero Kickstart, and that's going to be more applicable towards EDM dance music where you have a 4 on the floor type beat, and some great stuff there, man. So hopefully you guys are picking that up. By all means, hit me up via email if you guys have any questions on that kick, sidechain, attack, release threshold, any of that stuff. If you want me to elaborate, feel free to hit me up, and we'll talk then. So talk to you guys soon.